putting on a seminar, guys. I want to let you guys know this on 4/14 and 4/15. It's 14 days out from today. It's called Pivot Point. It's through Bergflow. Guys, Bradley, tell us a little bit about the whole thing, and then we'll get to Dirk here and let him introduce himself too. Go ahead.
Sure. Thanks, Ron. Yeah, absolutely. So the Pivot Point is a 2-day deep dive that we are hosting, like you said, in Dallas on April 14th and 15th. And it's geared at business owners who are looking to grow. You know, in the past several years, as Bergflow has worked with hundreds of actually different clients and across a lot of service businesses, what we have found is there are resistance points that business owners face as they grow. And the first big one is kind of growing out beyond what they manage on their own. And it's building that next layer of team. And so the Pivot Point is an opportunity to come to an event that will, just like it said, allow you to have a major pivot in your business. It is an opportunity to take that next big step in your business towards growth, put in the structure in place, the economic model in place, and learn how to build the right team to do it. So I'm sure Dirk can say all of that a lot clearer and better than me, but that's a little bit of an overview about it.
Yeah, you actually said it really well.
Well, anything to add to that, Dirk? Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, Dirk, how you got here?
Yeah, so man, I've always loved small business. I grew up thinking that I would be a business owner one day, and that's what I really wanted to do. And in my 20s, I was actually able to acquire a business that an owner financed for me, and so pretty much most of my 20s, I owned a business. I was actually in the ski and snowboard industry, and then my business failed miserably in 2008, and I really kind of had to go on the journey of learning, okay, well, how do you actually build a business and hire the right people? So that kind of put me on a journey of building some businesses and teams, expanding businesses into multiple cities. And then I became a CEO of a large real estate brokerage doing about $800 million a year in sales with about 500 real estate agents. And that was an amazing opportunity. But in 2017, or actually late 2016, I resigned from that company, started Bergflow in 2017, and I wanted to go back to really working with small business owners because that's where my heart is. And so since then, we work with small business owners and really help them go from that stage of being a technician-driven business to actually structuring a business that you can really start wearing the CEO hat a little bit more, thinking about, okay, how do we actually scale this thing? How do I run the business like a business and not just be self-employed? And so, you know, up to date, we've worked with over 300 companies over the last 5 years, and really started dialing in the playbook for service-based companies to go from 1 million to 10 million in revenue, and what that looks like. So that's a lot of what we're going to be talking about at the Pivot Point coming up in Dallas in 2 weeks.
Here's a guy, this is a good friend of mine, and this guy does millions a year washing condos. I met him, I think, probably, I think I've known him now for probably over 15 years at least, but he listened to some things I was telling him, I think back in 2009 on, again, one of the free seminars, there, like with TChem in North Carolina. He came out to a free seminar in New Jersey. Actually, it was Pennsylvania. We met each other. And I think that this guy will tell you that, like you're talking about those systems, once you put those systems in play, your business stops running you and you start running your business. And I think what our point is here is Pivot Point is just that. It's gonna, if you're having the struggles like that, am I right? This is what this is about. Like, if you feel like your head's about ready to pop off and spinning around, you've tried all these things and they're not working. Obviously, you guys have some of the answers, right?
Well, I think it's really interesting my eyes are struggling to see is what James said. He said, you know, it's pretty intense to get the right people in the right seats. And that's because I think that's because a lot of business owners don't have a lot of clarity around what that means and how to find them. Dirk, can you kind of speak into that a little bit about how you make that transition so that it's not so difficult?
Yeah, I mean that's such a good question. I mean, I think, one of the number one things we hear from a lot of different service-based companies, and we've been hearing this for a couple of years, when we ask them what's your greatest challenge, they say staff and staffing. Their current people, how do we help them? How do we kind of activate them? And then how do we find new people? And that's something that I hear on a consistent basis is people are saying it's hard to find good people. And it's one of those things that it's hard to find good people if you don't know how to find good people. If you learn how to find good people, they're actually everywhere. There are talented people everywhere looking for great opportunities today. But the question is, have you put time and effort and energy into finding great people? Because, Ron, just like doing your business, you put time and effort and energy into learning, okay, what equipment do I need? What chemicals do I need? What's the right process? And you spend a lot of time learning that technical type stuff in the business. Then you learn how to start doing the service, you start selling the service, you start getting more demands on it. But business owners typically never spend the time, effort, and energy to switch their focus and actually start studying and learning. Okay, how am I going to find the right people? How am I going to interview people to make sure that I get the right people for the right position? How am I going to find out if this person is in alignment with me long term? And that's the stuff that we really start specializing in, to say, look, there are, just like there's training systems, right? And it looks like Team Cam here is going to do some technical training systems on how to do technical work in the business. Essentially what Workflow does the same thing, except for recruiting and finding talent, structuring your company. What's the right economic models for you to actually have predictable profitability in your company? How do you build a company, like you said, Ron, that doesn't own your soul, but that you can actually start running like a company? And that's really what we specialize in. But a big part of it is that you first off just have to put the time and effort and energy into knowing that it's something that you need to build skill around. I think most companies, somebody gets really good at technical work, and then they start wanting to hire other people, but they never really take the time to learn how to hire people.
I was asked the other day, when am I gonna like stop working? And I think my reply was, and I think you guys, there's an old cliche because there's a lot of people out there that say this, but it's real. I'm not working. What I do, I love, and if you love what you do, it's not a job. It's not working, and it really isn't. I get up every day doing what I do because I love to do it, and I got to tell you, man, I always tell guys that are starting out, like the guy that's completely green, like doesn't know which direction he's going. I always tell him, don't get so deep into this thing financially until you really know that you like what you're doing, because there's no sense in going out and spending, $100,000 when you could spend $8 and figure out if you even like washing houses or cleaning bus stops or cleaning kitchen exhaust hoods. And there's some pretty nasty jobs in my industry. And personally, you couldn't pay me enough money to wash kitchen exhaust systems. I mean, they're terrible. They're disgusting. But I think it's important, if a guy doesn't like what he's doing, if he doesn't enjoy what he's doing, he needs to find that. Now, with that said, all these things that you learn about being an entrepreneur at Pivot Point, guys, okay, you can use in anything in life, right? I mean, these skills that you guys are teaching at Pivot Point aren't strictly for wash guys. They're just for business people and entrepreneurs in general. So when you find something you love, these techniques and strategies can be applied, right?
Well, I think that's such a good way of putting it, because most business owners that are in a particular trade or industry, you tend to think that your industry is very unique. And I mean, I have never met anybody from an industry that did not believe their industry was unique. But when you actually work with multiple industries, what we've seen is 80% of business is universal to business. 20% of business is going to be unique to your trade, your industry. And what a lot of people get hung up on is, really focusing on the 20% that's unique to their industry and not looking at the 80% overall that is universal to building successful businesses and companies. So that's kind of what we focus on, is really looking at the business side of it. Now we do primarily work with service-based companies, so that's really what this is geared in. But what we found is actually a lot of our clients now that have implemented the system, what they do is they start launching ancillary companies, where now they may have. We work with a lot of home inspection companies that now have acquired a pest company, acquired a plumbing company, acquired an HVAC company, and it's the ability to, once you learn the game, then you can go wider into other industries. And Brad and I have talked about this a lot, of like how many ancillary opportunities there are in these multiple wash industries, of things that you can do to really kick up your revenue, your profitability with what you're already doing. And that comes through really understanding the game of business at a higher level. So Brad, I don't know if you have anything to add to that.
Well, I was just thinking about what Ron had said before about how this knowledge, how applicable it is, from once you have it there on out. And I've heard you say several times, Dirk, a business owner might come in and build a $20 million business over 20 years and they sell it. But then when they go to start that next business, it only takes them 3 or 4 or 5 years to repeat the process, because once you learn how to do it, like you said, once you learn how to play the game, then you always have that moving forward.
Right. Yeah. And I think like that's
Yeah.
the thing, is business is way more predictable than a lot of people think, if you understand, what to look for.
Oh, it's funny because before you obtain these skills, and I think some of these guys are going to like hit home on this. How many times have you sat there when you didn't know what you know now, and you thought, man, what am I doing this for? I'm killing myself. I'm going to quit, and you hear so many people have said, man, I was going to quit 3, 4, 5 times before they figured it out, and it's so silly because when you talk to somebody that figures it out, they're never going to get a job. They are never going to get a job. They're going to take their skills and they're going to find something that maybe they do like, because they found out, hey, I don't really like being up here crawling around in kitchen exhaust hoods, cleaning them out. I'm going to find some other line of work. It's funny. I got a friend that, we talk about this all the time. I was in a mastermind group with him for like the last 20 years, and we had 26 people in the group, and we would always exchange referrals. And if you didn't exchange a referral on a regular basis, you were out of the group. Like, we threw you out. Like, we'd meet and we threw you out. And I was just talking to him about this very thing, about like, when this. He has a business now. He's built a business now that he has never, I'm not going to say what it is, but it's a home service business. He don't have the skills. He's never done the home service business skill that he sold. And he's approaching about 72 million in annual sales right now.
Wow.
And he's never worked on a truck, never done anything, but he enjoys, like you guys say, being the CEO and running the business, even though there's a lot of guys out there that say, oh no, you got to be in the trenches with your guys. You got to do this. You got to do that. There is that CEO that needs to do that. It's a leadership thing, but there's a whole nother level that is above that basically you being in the trenches is just a waste of your time. I always tell people, they go, Ron, are you going to be on the job? Are you going to do the job for me? Man, I am too expensive. And you know what? I got people trained. They do a job better than I can do it.
Yeah.
So you're going to overpay, and you're not going to get a quality service if you want me on the job. I always tell them, they always laugh when they hear that. And then they go, okay, I understand. You're going to manage the job though. Yes, we'll manage the job. But some people just, at that point, they don't understand that you're an owner of a business and you want to be an owner. Everybody wants to be an owner. And let's dispel this one. I can't stand the guy that says, well, I've been an owner operator for 10 years and I love just being that owner operator. That's a lie. Quit lying to yourself. No one started a business to buy a job. Nobody. Did they? Or am I crazy? Are there people out there that want to work? That's what they want to do. I mean, I think that if you start a business, I think you're looking for something else. And here it is. What are we all looking for? Financial freedom, time with our families, being able to do what we want to do at the drop of a dime, being able to go to the airport today, look up at the thing and say, let's go to Maui. I think that looks pretty good. Let's get a ticket to Maui and go and check it out. That's what we want to be entrepreneurs for. We don't want to be entrepreneurs to be a slave to a job. If we're going to do that, go get a 9 to 5 because you got more freedom. Isn't that crazy?
And you'll probably make more money.
Absolutely.
Exactly
and
right.
the guy that wants to quit, if anybody out there has ever had that thought and still having those thoughts in their mind, guess what? There it is right there, guys. 415 Dallas, Texas. I'm going to put a link in the description there. If you're even close to Dallas, Texas, man, you're missing an opportunity, especially if those thoughts as an entrepreneur has ever run through your head that I want to quit. You're missing something. And Pivot Point is going to fill in. You're going to fill in the dots, aren't you? Cross the T's.
Yeah.
You going to get that done?
Yeah, I mean, I think one thing I just want to say real quick, Ron, to what you said, because you just said, I mean, you just dropped a lot of really good knowledge, right? So I think there has to be a shift. There has to be a shift from thinking that you're going to run your business like a technician to start thinking that you're going to start running your business like a CEO. And Brad actually does a podcast for us called Technician to CEO, where he interviews people that have made that journey successfully. But it is a different way of looking at it, because one of the greatest things we see that hang people up, and this is exactly what you said a while ago, is that technician owners say things like, nobody can do it as good as I can do it. My customers only want to deal with me. They want to see me on the job. If they don't see me on the job, they get nervous. And really all you're saying is that, look, they are used to the kind of service that you provide. They're not loyal to you. They're loyal to the service that you're providing them. If you can hire somebody and train somebody and have a high level of standard for that person to do the same thing, they'll be loyal to that person just like they were to you. And I think, Ron, like what you said a while ago of saying, like, look, my people can do it better than I can. That's the sign of somebody that truly thinks at a higher level and thinks of, like, look, it's not about my ego and how well I can do the job. I'd rather my ego be tied up in, like, what kind of people can I hire and attract into my business, and what kind of opportunities can I create for them, because they're going to do a better job than I can. So I think, like, that's just a great thing to point out. But Brad, anything you want to add about the details of the event? Any I's you want to dot or T's you want to cross?
Well, I mean, I was just thinking about what Ron had said earlier and that feeling I want to quit. And I think when we've gone back and you've shared a lot of stories of business owners who've worked with BergFlow over the years, a lot of them kind of showed up at that point in one way or another. They were hitting a brick wall. And what happens, as a business grows, is it grows really wide, and the poor guy owning the business, whether it's responsibilities or employees, has to do it all. And that does make you want to quit. And even if you love doing a job, and you really love doing that, there's a whole lot of other things you have to do to keep a business going, even a small one, whether that's financial items, invoicing, and, keeping track of your books and scheduling, and, managing the jobs and making customers happy and doing your marketing. And you get to wearing too many hats. And so, what we're going to teach, it's not just finding the right people. It's also restructuring how you think about a business being built, where instead of being so wide, where you're the central point, you're actually building an organization deep where other people start to take on roles that you're not great at. And you can really lean in to where you want to be great. And it doesn't have to look any specific way, but you can't do it all. And no matter how good you are at doing a lot of things, eventually you're going to burn out like that. And so, our event kind of is really in two halves. The first half is like, it really does start with you as a leader and the mindset that you have, and you got to get that right. So we're going to spend day one really focusing on you as a leader. And then as we transition to day 2, it's about the rest of your team, because a business is just people. And I think I've heard you say that Dirk several times. A business really is just people. And so the sum of the people, the sum of the leaders you have on your team will determine the success of your business. So it's formulaic in a way, but it is those missing pieces. And we're just learning from a path of what hundreds and thousands of businesses have gone before and done successfully. And you're just learning how to plug
Absolutely.
into that.
Hey, James, Joshua, and a Facebook user say, hey, good, I'm driving and listening. That guy, who that is, it's not showing up who your name is. Do me a favor, instant message me any chemical you guys want. Just tell me what chemical it is. It'll be there in less than a week. So James, Joshua, and the Facebook user says he's driving and listening. Go ahead and hit me up with Messenger. Tell me what chemical you want. I'm not a mind reader. I don't have a crystal ball. Tell me what it is. Okay, Luis, message me on Messenger and tell me what chemical you want, and we'll send it out. And James has got a question. We're about 21 minutes. We probably want to wrap this up in the next 15. So, guys, if you guys got some questions for these guys, here it is, man. Ask away. It's going to be you got 2 guys here that are out there building businesses. BergFlow's been around how long, Bradley? Tell these guys how long you've been doing this.
BergFlow was founded in 2017 by Dirk.
Okay.
So he probably can answer to that a little better.
So it's about 5 years.
Yeah, we've been around 5 years. Yeah. So hey, I want to answer James' question, and I want to answer Joshua's question as well, because both those are really good questions. So James, first thing, where's the place you search for great employees, right? One thing that I highly recommend, if you are a business owner, if you're listening to this podcast right now, the first thing I would recommend for you to think of is not just like, how do I find them? The better question to ask yourself is, how do I build a system that acquires talent? Because that's for people that build big businesses, they ask the same question about getting more leads, more clients. They don't say, how do I get more clients? They say, how do I build a system that acquires more clients, right? So the first thing I would think is, look, think in terms of not just how do I need to hire 1 or 2, but think in terms of like, what if I needed to hire 10 people? How would I do that? The first thing that I would recommend is, I think anything like Indeed, LinkedIn, Facebook Jobs, I mean, like all that kind of stuff are good resources to kind of look for people. But the first question you got to ask yourself is, if I get in contact with somebody, how am I going to get them to my environment? And what does my environment look like? So if I'm the first thing that I'm looking at, if I want to hire somebody, is what do I want them to think of who I am, what I'm doing, what our company is about, not the job that I want to hire them for. Because I don't ever want to hire somebody for a job. I want to hire somebody for a career. I want to hire somebody for bigger opportunities in their life. And that's the place that I want to start. So James, the best thing that you can do is build a story around what your company is, who are the kind of people that you want to be in business with, what are the kind of opportunities that you want to be able to provide for people. And one of the best things to do is start talking about that. Talk to your friends about that. Talk to your neighbors about that. Talk to your customers about that. There's an opportunity that every time that you're doing business with somebody, you can talk about your company, talk about your story, and say, by the way, we are looking for people that are committed to being part of a great team. We're looking for people that want to be self-managed, that want to, be part of, figuring things out and solving problems. And it's not like, hey, I'm looking for somebody that needs to be a pressure washer, right? Because, I don't know how many people wake up in the morning and say like, hey, I want to be a pressure washer, but there's people that would love to pressure wash if they were part of a great team, if they were part of a great company. And I think like that's the foundational part of finding people, is really starting to understand the kind of people that you want to be in business with, and use that as a starting point. The other thing, to go back to Josh, Josh's question is, how do I know when it's time to get out of the field? Right. One of the things that we've seen across many, many businesses is that the moment that a lot of service-based companies really start exploding in growth is the moment that the owner is forced out of the field. And I say forced because we see that it's because of health issues, it's because of an accident on the job, it's because of like something else that went on that forced them out of the field. And once they weren't physically able to go and do the work on a day in and day out basis, to climb on ladders, to, whatever the case may be, then all of a sudden they said, okay, now I guess I need to run my business like a CEO. I got to start thinking about different things. And that's actually the point that a lot of companies actually start growing aggressively. So what I recommend is don't ever wait for that point to happen. Start being more strategic about what that looks like. And what we do is from the start, because I mean, in some of our programs, we work with smaller companies that may have 2 or 3 or 4 people in the company and be 2 or 3 or 4, 500,000. The majority of our companies are already over 2 million that we work with. But even if you're a smaller company, start designing the kind of company that you want to build. Build your current org chart, build your future org chart, build your economic model, run projections. And again, for a lot of people, that may sound overwhelming. You're like, well, that's very businessy, but it's not. We simplify that kind of stuff because that's how you go from being a technician to being a CEO. And then once you do that, then you figure out, okay, how many customers do I need? What kind of money do they need to be paying me? How can I hire other people to come in and run the services? And then the economic model can tell you when you can step out, hire somebody else, and start doing that. And like Ron
Can I
said, he had a
answer
buddy
this
that,
question? Can I answer
yeah,
this question?
uh-huh.
Steven, you wanted a gallon of F9 bark. Just go ahead and message me. I'll get you that. Okay. But I'm going to give you some hardline advice here right now on this question here. He said, sad things today is little businesses are not viewed as legitimate entities in our line of work. Okay. That is all in your mind. Okay. You have to change that. If you believe that you're not running a business, okay, with that leadership, it's going to transfer to your employees. It's going to transfer to everybody in your own organization that this isn't a legitimate business. And why is it that you have to look inside yourself? Why is it you think you're not running a legitimate business? You need to start and become a business owner and be proud of it and understand it. And I don't care if you're running this thing out of your bedroom, okay?
Mhm.
You need to, if you ever expect to get to that office and have a headquarters, you got to start thinking differently because that's the wrong mindset. You guys agree with me?
Absolutely. I think it's interesting. Every limit, every ceiling, resistance point, however you want to call it, that a business owner hits, is all going to be what's going on in their head and the limiting belief that they have around that. And
I love this lady, guys. She's out of Texas, man. One heck of a business. She runs an Agent Clean franchise. Her and her husband are absolutely dynamite, and she don't want me to tell anybody, but she's one hell of a salesperson. One hell of a salesperson. Didn't mean to interrupt you, Bradley, but I just had
Yeah,
to. I had to
awesome.
give Veronica a little bit of props there because
Um, yeah, I think what Brad was saying is like, man, like you and Ron, same thing is like, look, if you can't win the battle in your mind, if you can't be legitimate in your mind, nobody will ever take you seriously. Nobody will ever think you're legitimate. And it's you have to be the first person that actually believes that you can do it and you can build a great business. And then the thing is, you got to believe it, and then you got to hire other people that believe it, and then you start getting more and more customers. But it absolutely starts in your mind. And like Brad said a while ago, we spend a lot of the first day based on, okay, how can you think differently as a business owner? Like, what are the kind of things that you have to consider, have to give mind share to, and how do you really craft and design that future business that you want? So if you want that headquarters with you know um, uh, you know uh, expansion locations in 10 cities across the United States, and teams and all that kind of stuff, how do you start designing that? Because essentially, if you want to attract the kind of people into your business to build that kind of business, you're going to have to share the vision with them. It's not just about you being clear on it and understanding it. You actually have to share that with other people if they're going to come on and join you on it, right? The reason that people continually hire the wrong people and hire people that just show up for a paycheck, is that's what they're selling to those people. Like, hey, like, we're hiring right now. We'll give you a paycheck to do this work. It's like, I don't ever want to hire somebody again to come to work for me for a paycheck. Like, if you come to work for me for a paycheck today, like, that is the wrong reason. We should not even be in business together, right? I want people to be in business with me because they see an opportunity that's going to better their life long term. And by us working together, we can help unlock that for them. So it's a completely different mindset as opposed to looking for people that are there for a paycheck. Because again, if that's all you're hiring for, they'll leave you for a paycheck too, right? Somebody pays them a dollar an hour more, they'll leave you.
Man, I got to tell you, I don't want to get 1,000 phone calls after this thing, but I learned early on, and I learned money is not a lot of the factors that people will work with you or stay with you or give their 100% or be loyal to you. I found out the hard way. Had a top performer. We jumped him up his salary. This guy never did another thing after he after he got this. He became the worst employee that we had. It was phenomenal. And I made that mistake. And I said, man, this just doesn't make any sense. This guy's top performer. We awarded him. And now, he's lazy. He's not doing what he's supposed to be doing. And that is so true, that money is not the motivator either, as well as people saying, hey, I'm here. What am I going to get? What am I going to get? Well, you're going to get what you put into these things, because you're always going to get something back if you put in, right? And I think that's the way people need to understand and focus in their businesses. But I wanted to tell, like, you guys have focused on, the experience of an employee type of thing, and creating the I call it magic. You guys have a different word for it, but creating the magic within inside of your organization. I like to tell young entrepreneurs and even old entrepreneurs, some of the guys that don't want to change, we fight sometimes taking, 3, 4, 5 employees, and we want to cross train them and make them the jack of all trades, master of none. And they don't know this, because a lot of times if they understood this and knew this, there's always somebody out there. And I'll tell this little story about when technology caught up with us and we could actually record phone calls. We started going back, this was early 2000s, we could actually record the phone calls that were going out in our call center. And we started listening to some of them. And we're like, why is this person in our call center, man? I mean, why are they talking? What? We don't even want them talking to customers anymore. Like, we started listening to the calling, and it was like, and we're like, and this gal's name was Betty. And we're like, hey, Betty, what's going on? Like, we played this call for her, and she says, man, I told y'all when you hired me, I don't want to be on the phone. I was like, okay, so we're not listening to our employees either, and we got somebody doing something that they hate doing, and they're doing a bad job of it, And so it was funny, because there's 2 situations. We put her on. We used to have envelope stuffing parties, that's the stuff nobody wants to do. So we would get all the crew in there, buy them lunch, and then everybody would stuff envelopes on a Friday or something like that. Betty loved to stuff envelopes. She wanted to stuff envelopes 24 hours a day, and we could never find anybody that wanted to do this. So it's about positioning and knowing what the talents are within your organization. And then we had a guy that was a technician, legally blind. We did not know this. We just thought the glasses that looked like Coke bottom bottles, we thought he could see through them, but apparently he was still legally blind even after he was looking through them. And obviously that doesn't work in the cleaning business, because he doesn't know if anything's clean or not, and he wound up being a very masterful networking guy. That was his real talent. And we were able to utilize him in a different position, and it was wonderful. I mean, he wound up going from washing to coming into the office and working on networks, and he was a crackerjack at that stuff. And I think that the point of this is we as entrepreneurs, we have to open our eyes. I always tell people all the time, they go to these training seminars and they go, well, I didn't get anything out of it, or they want to be a bad student. Okay, you as an entrepreneur have to open up your mind. You have to look at things from all different sides, and you have to be coachable yourself. You have to understand your weaknesses and fill those gaps with people that are qualified to do that. Because to build a larger business, you cannot do everything yourself. You cannot. Somebody asked where they started about getting off the truck. I don't know if you guys agree with me on this, but I think that everybody that is a single operator should start with an assistant in the office, period. That's it. Don't start anywhere else. Get an assistant in play, somebody that can handle that office and get you more on the truck so you can train your younger technicians properly and give them the guidance that they need to be on their own. Otherwise, you're going to keep going back and forth. And what you're doing is you're expediting that growth. It's going to take even longer. It really will. Do you guys agree with me that an assistant in a single operator situation is probably the first key employee? I mean,
Yeah,
you disagree.
No,
you disagree with me,
I think
okay,
100%, right?
Yeah.
We call it we call it operations assistant, right? So
Yeah.
And that's absolutely right. Your mind wants to tell you the first thing I need to do is hire more technicians because that's going to make more money. But the truth is the operational side of your business is so important, and that's the stuff, Ron, that most people that are in the field all day neglect. They do the office work at night or on the weekends or on Sundays, and it's all that stuff starts stacking up, and that's what's important about building a business. So I 100% support that and say, look, hire a great operator to help you in the business, right? You call it assistant, and then when it comes to a technician, if because we actually have a formula on this, like who do you hire, when do you hire them, and what does the economic model look like on this kind of stuff. But the thing is, if I go hire another technician that I'm going to train up, I'm not just going to hire somebody that wants to come do the technical work. I'm going to hire somebody that wants to become a leader, that wants to learn, that wants to be able to pour into other people. If I hire that person and I train them, I'm also going to train them on how to go hire other people and train other people. So that if I do that correctly, I hire one person and that person now starts training other people, hiring other people. And that's the fastest way for me as a new technician to get out of the field and start running my business like a business.
Bradley holds so still that I think he's frozen. The only reason I know he's moving is like his eyes blink a little bit. But that's it. I was fearful this podcast would glitch up when we had that little problem at the beginning. But
you told me not
guys,
to move, Ron. I was sitting still. I was following directions.
We gotta wrap. Maybe that's why we're still going, because you were sitting still and I'm like all over the place. But hey, look, guys, we're about 37 into this, man. If there's some wrapping up things, if you want to concur with Veronica there, or any of these other questions that I've gone by a couple of these questions. I'm assuming you've been reading them there, Bradley. If there's one you want me to go back to, I can. But what do you guys want to wrap this up with? I mean, I want to make sure that everybody knows there's a free seminar. Get signed up. 7/20/21 TChem training event, North Carolina. Bradley will be there. Dirk, are you joining us at TChem?
I need to talk to Brad about that. We haven't really talked about that too much, so
okay.
we'll talk about that.
Well, Bradley,
but I'll definitely be in Dallas.
Bradley will be there, and if you want to see some of Bradley, National Cleaning Expo on Facebook, we got a video of him. He spoke at the Panhandle event here past in January, so you can kind of see what you're in for there. Come on out, dynamite speakers. There's a lot of great guys out there, and then don't forget, guys. It's a 2-day workshop, the Pivot Point by Bergflow, 214-215, 14 days away, Dallas, Texas. If you're close, guys, go there. I'm going to drop the link that you can sign up in these videos afterwards. They'll all be in there. You guys can go sign up. National Cleaning Expo for the free event, and the Dallas event at Bergflow, I'll drop that in there as well, and you guys can get signed up. Take it away, guys. Wrap it up. We got about 2 minutes. Tell me what you guys want to tell me how you want to finish this thing up. I think it was a great interview. Appreciate all the guys out there, all the guys that email or message me for the chems. It'll take about anywhere from 5 to 10 days to get your chems, guys. Make sure you message me and tell me what chem you want. Go ahead, guys. It's all yours. Take it away.
Yeah, I think the main thing that I would just say is, look, if you want to learn how to build a business and not just run your business as a technician and be self-employed, I think you need to get around people that have been successful in making this transition. I know we've already got companies, not just from the power washing and window cleaning industry, but from other industries, that there's going to be companies that are over $10 million a year companies at this training. And to be around company owners like that have built really successful companies, you just walk away with a different mindset, a different perspective, and all of a sudden you realize, like, wow, I can do this, right? If they did it, I can do it. There's a system to follow. So I would just really encourage you guys, come check this training out in Dallas. You're going to meet other very successful business owners. You're going to see a system just laid out for how you can do this as a business owner, and just walk away with a shot of encouragement and knowing that there's a way to get this done.
I agree. I agree. I don't.
You just agree.
I don't think there's anything else that we need to add to that. I mean, I think you just have to ask yourself, you know, what do I want the future of my business to be like? You know, and you know, I've had the opportunity to have some great conversations with people in the podcast. And if you want it to grow and you want it to go beyond where you are today, and you want to see that, you have to grow yourself. And I've heard it several times. Pat Clark, that I know many of you guys know, you know, he took his last dollar and slept in a van to get himself to a training event because he knew that he had to better himself and get around the right people. So,
And we let him shower in the room. He camped out. He camped out in his car.
Yeah. There is nothing that will change your business as much as getting around the right people and getting the right knowledge. So this is an opportunity for that.
Absolutely. Hey, I'm going to add to this. If you keep saying, or you caught yourself recently saying, is this worth it? I should quit. You need to get to a training event. For real. You need to get to a training event. And I can tell you this right now. Everybody in our lives, an older guy like me, that was normal. That is not normal anymore. This information is out there. You need to go get it and expedite that learning curve and never worry about getting a job ever again in your life, because that's what this is about. That's what being an entrepreneur is about. Mm-hmm. So I just say to all the guys out there that say they want to quit or they thought about quitting in the last, whatever it was, last year, you need to get to a seminar. You need to get, and if you've not had, if you're so young out there and you've never had that cross your mind yet, get to a seminar so you don't go deja vu. Ron Musgrave said that 6 months ago, and here I find myself saying I'm going to quit. You know, and it's true, right? Didn't you guys ever come to that part in your entrepreneurship that you said, hey, before you had this knowledge, I want to quit? Did it happen?
I think, here's how I think you know you're on the right track, Ron. It's when maybe late in the afternoon or at night you're just like, man, screw this, I'm going to quit. But then you wake up the next morning, you're like, I'm ready to go back after it, man. So and I think
grit,
like that's
man. That's grit. You
Mm-hmm.
can't do anything about grit. Grit will always win, won't it? Grit will win.
Grit, I think grit is the single greatest factor in building great businesses. I think it's like, if you don't have grit, you will never build a great business. You got to have that grit. Yeah, absolutely.
Hey guys, I appreciate you guys coming on, man. Thanks for coming out. What a great interview it was. Stay in the green room because we'll chat afterwards. But guys, thanks for everybody out there. Reminder again, if I called you out, message me for that gallon, any chemical that you want. Don't forget the Pivot Point, Dallas, Texas. And then we're doing TChem on 7/20/21 in July, guys. It's a free event. Make sure you get to either one of them. Appreciate you guys for coming out. Ron